Hello guys, this is Revolution. So, as the title says, Dragon Ball Super episode 131. If you haven't seen that episode yet, what are you doing? Pause this video, go watch it and come back because there's tons to speak about. But this video will contain spoilers concerning Dragon Ball Super episode 131. You have been warned. Anyway guys, I've created an avatar recently. He's based off the Daishinkan. He's supposed to be the Daishinkan's brother. I've even named him the Daishinkan. I've been trying to fill out his background a little bit, think of what kind of powers he has, but I think you can add foretelling the future to his powers, because 5 months ago I predicted Android 17 will win the Tournament of Power. I was right. Android 17 was the last remaining member of Universe 7 in the Tournament of Power. He was granted the Super Dragon Balls, and this motherfucker has already had an amazing comeback. This guy's comeback has been incredible. He is the MVP of this tournament, even if he didn't win the tournament itself. But this guy goes and wishes for exactly what I wanted wishing for. He has restored all the erased universes from the Tournament of Power. At least he has restored the multiverse. Now I'm going to tell you, we will get more into Android 17's wish later. There's so much to talk about coming from the final episode of Dragon Ball Super. I don't have a plan for this video. I'm just going to talk about everything regarding power scaling, story development, character developments, etc. What it means for the future of the Dragon Ball franchise. Now, I've watched Dragon Ball Super episode 131 3 times already. After the first viewing, I wasn't entirely sure what to think about the episode because I was so hyped for the episode. I kind of watched it in anticipation, waiting for the spectacle to continue that we got from last week. This episode wasn't quite the spectacle of episode 130, but it was spectacular. Upon watching it on the second time and third time, you can truly see how much thought and effort was put into this episode. The layout of this episode in terms of storyboarding was utterly brilliant. If there is a hypothetical future series of a Dragon Ball anime, and I'm 99% sure there will be, I'm not confirming it by any means guys, but read between the lines, fully they will put this kind of effort into the storyboarding in the future series, because this was brilliant and it hasn't happened throughout Dragon Ball Super, to be brutally honest, and that's one of Dragon Ball Super's weaknesses, even though I have enjoyed the show thoroughly. But like I said, episode 131 was not the spectacle episode 130 was. That was an all-out brawl between Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku and Awakened Jiren, and wow, what an episode that was. It was an amazing fight, possibly the best fight we've had in Dragon Ball history. Now, episode 131 doesn't tie up all the story threads, and basically the reason I believe that is because Dragon Ball Super is continuing. It's at least continuing in the movie, and like I just said, I'd eat my hat if they didn't make a new Dragon Ball Super anime next year. It will probably be called something else like Dragon Ball Ultra. The reason I enjoyed this episode thoroughly is simply because even though it didn't tie up all the loose ends in terms of story arcs, it set up so much more potential story arcs for the future. Toriyama has given the keys to Toei to create an abundance of stories, bringing back the multiverse, back all the characters, resurrecting Frieza. There are so many story dynamics they could utilise moving forward in the future. Somehow, the final episode of this series has left me more excited at the prospect of a future series. That's a good job. That's a very good job, especially if you do have a new series lined up. So guys, obviously the episode continued from last week with Android 17 and Golden Frieza stepping up against Jiren. They were getting the better of him in the fight, delivering a massive spear to Jiren, trapping him inside the key barrier, and then I love how Android 18 addresses this later in the episode. Android 17 is remarkably like Goku. They are very similar. They are willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. Jiren's down at this point. Jiren's done. He's lost belief in his own power. That absolute power he believed in is non-existent. Frieza, of course, can't just knock him off the stage. He has to point this out. He has to mentally torture Jiren. And whilst it is working to a point, Toppo starts to cheerlead for Jiren, and Jiren regains some of his awakened Jiren power from episode 130. I don't think this is a full-powered awakened Jiren, because at this point in the game they're all exhausted. They're nowhere close to full power, but he is awakened Jiren at this point. You can see the energy from episode 130. You can see the energy surrounding his body. Of course, he then goes to disintegrate the whole arena which of course if Android 17 and Frieza don't try to stop him, they'll be knocked off the arena. They try, but they are getting overpowered. I love this part because Android 17 starts screaming at Golden Frieza to put out more power. They are losing, they are about to get knocked off. Frieza tries to put out more power and then reverts back into his final form. They're done. They're absolutely done at this point, but Goku comes to their aid. The dialogue between these three henceforth is utterly amazing. The dynamic between these three characters, Android 17 who was programmed to assassinate Goku, and Frieza who just hates Goku. These three have to work together and they do. Frieza's wondering if Goku's going to stick to his promise to resurrect him. Of course Goku says, if you don't break your promise, he will stick to his promise. Frieza then puts himself on the line. He forgets about his original plans to make a wish with the Super Dragon Balls to control the gods, and he works with Goku. Particular scene is special, guys, because we see Goku, Android 17 and Frieza all working together. Frieza and Goku truly are working together. 17 kind of sticks behind. I think 17 physically is done. Of course he has inexhaustible energy, but he has a lot of injuries from that self-explosion in episode 127. Frieza makes the decision to actually sacrifice himself. I don't talk about exploding like Android 17 tried to in episode 127, but he sacrifices himself in order to eliminate Jiren along with himself. It doesn't work at the beginning, but Goku joins in and we actually see Goku trying to achieve Super Saiyan. Of course, he can barely do it because he has hardly any energy left. And Super Saiyan Goku and final form Frieza eliminate Jiren. Jiren has a nice little line about trust. Guys, this was brilliant. Great writing. Having Goku momentarily transform into Super Saiyan and fight alongside final form Frieza was a truly special moment in the Dragon Ball franchise. It was a great touch. The fact that Frieza still worked with Goku in that transformation, the transformation he hates, the transformation that ruined his life. Like I said earlier, this wasn't necessarily a spectacle like episode 130 was, but the meaning behind everything in this episode was truly magnificent. Jiren was eliminated, but obviously Goku and Frieza went down with him, with Android 17 still being in the arena. Android 17 wins the Tournament of Power. Like I said, Android 17's return has been phenomenal. His participation in this tournament has been phenomenal. I would argue that Android 17 would be the most valuable player whether he won this tournament or not. Just before Android 17 makes his wish, there's a nice little moment just before Jiren and Universe 11 are about to be erased, where Goku says he would like to see Jiren again. Jiren smiles. Another nice touch in an episode full of great touches. Universe 11 get erased, Android 17 makes his wish, and he wishes for the multiverse to be brought back. Now guys, this is why I'm happy about this. Obviously, death in Dragon Ball has been a joke for a long time. When somebody dies, at least a good guy dies, they are brought back with the Dragon Balls. Even Frieza keeps getting brought back now. Death is a joke, that's how it's always been. It's nothing new to Dragon Ball, and it's not Dragon Ball Super's fault. And yes, this ending in terms of the wish may have been a little predictable, but the erasure of all those universes is wasted potential, a waste of good characters. Sure, death should mean something, otherwise it takes away from the intensity of future arcs, but in terms of a whole multiverse disappearing, that's a very large scale of death. Now here's the big question and the thing a lot of people are talking about. Does this mean the 6 previously erased universes that Zeno erased? Let's get real, there was no definitive statement to say so we can only speculate at this point. But I would like it if they took that direction. Like I said, the bigger the verse, the more potential for larger scale stories in the future. So if, and a big if, those 6 previously erased universes are brought back, there will be 18 universes in total. Obviously we know all these universes are pretty much macrocosms, so the multiverse in Dragon Ball would be pretty large, and I'd like to see some more exploration of those universes before they start to increase the lore of Dragon Ball even further. However, I would also like to add another possibility. What if those erased universes also consist of the future universes that were erased by future Zeno? Now guys, I'm just theorizing here, so take it with a pinch of salt. But if that wish by Super Shenron consists of every universe erased, it could consist of the future timeline, and if it did, then it could even potentially bring back Zamasu, Astral Zamasu at least. I know, that theory is wild, but let me know your thoughts. Would you like to see that if there was to be a future series of Dragon Ball? So let's just go over a few things in this episode, some smaller points. Zeno himself, the Omni King, stated that Super Shenron can grant any wish. He made that utterly clear. That debate is over. Super Shenron has creational abilities that scale alongside Zeno. He can reverse Zeno erasures, debate over. I told you so. In terms of the Angel's powers, we just saw Whis grant Frieza his life back. We didn't know Angels had that power. I know he helped Bulma have a baby in a much shorter span of time than it would regularly take, but she was already pregnant. But he has just granted Frieza back his life. Goku didn't need to use the Dragon Balls to wish him back. Whis granted it as a favour from Beerus. We then see all the universes. We see Universe 6 and all their team members, including the Saiyans, the legendary assassin Hit, and Frost. Frost has got to have a grudge against Frieza for what Frieza did to him in the Tournament of Power. The Saiyans are talking about achieving Super Saiyan 3. Shampar says he won't thank his brother. Their rivalry will continue. It shows Universe 10 and that idiot Gawasu. It shows all the other restored erased universes. It shows Universe 11 where Jiren and Toppo basically become friends. Now by no means do I think Jiren is a well developed in-depth character. He's basically one layer, pretty much like Goku actually, but this arc was pretty much also about him, despite the fact we didn't get to learn a lot about him. In this arc he saw what friendship is, even amongst enemies, and basically we saw character development for Jiren. And if Jiren can develop his own power through trust, just like the Universe 7 warriors, it's scary. His potential is scary, like I mentioned in a video about Jiren's power just the other day. Jiren's power is in his base. He doesn't rely on transformations like the Saiyans do. The guy's a monster. We also learned that Zeno was going to erase all the universes regardless if the winner of the Tournament of Power didn't wish to reverse the erasure of all the universes, which gave us the true meaning of what the purpose of the tournament was about. Selflessness. And to use Android 17, the character, if you go back to the Android saga, was one of the most selfish beings around. What character development Android 17's had? He wishes to restore the universes. He has empathy for the other universes. He's brought them all back. And he has essentially saved all 12 universes because they would have all gotten erased had he not made that wish. So guys, once the Tournament of Power ended and they got back to Earth, we started to see what everybody's doing in their daily lives. We see that Android 17's on a cruise liner, gifted of course by the Capsule Corporation. It was always a ridiculous wish to want to use the Super Dragon Balls for a cruise liner, but he got it anyway, which was cool to see. I definitely want to see more of Android 17 in the future. His return has been phenomenal. We see Vegeta looking really proud of Buller, only to see Pan flying about as a baby. She then hits Vegeta in the face, giving him a big bruise where everyone laughs at him. Then he starts fighting with Goku, and then we get a little cutscene. And guys, this cutscene was brilliant, and there's a really big thing to talk about in this cutscene. Goku cannot use Ultra Instinct. He says it's because he was maxed out in the Tournament of Power at his limits and he was forced to use it. Vegeta says, well, we're going to have to find new ways to power up. Guys, I've told everybody over the last few weeks that Goku's mastered Ultra Instinct isn't a truly mastered Ultra Instinct. It's a transformation. Mastered is a misleading word. It's a completed version of Ultra Instinct, but he doesn't have the same Ultra Instinct the Angels do. I do believe he will be able to use it again in the future, but I think he will have to learn to use it. It will take some training with Whis or even the Grand Priest. But if you paid attention to the show and thought critically, there's no way it could have been the same Ultra Instinct as what the Angels have. We then saw both Goku and Vegeta go Super Saiyan Blue, start fighting each other. Guys, this was awesome. They then went to the rocky area they fought in the Saiyan Saga and both did the stances they did in the Saiyan Saga but in Super Saiyan Blue. What a nod to the long-term fans of Dragon Ball. This meant a lot. This was thoroughly thought through. Like I said earlier, great storyboarding. We also then see Frieza fly out of his spaceship and say the Emperor of the Universe is back. I've got a feeling the Frieza Force in the future will be on a multiversal scale. Remember guys, all the universes have been restored. The trio de Dangers, who Frieza took a liking to at the beginning of the tournament, are back. Frost is back. Could Frost join the Frieza Force, or will he oppose them? And let's not forget, Vegeta in that sequence also said Saiyans have no limitations, which is exactly the line we got in the teaser trailer for the new Dragon Ball movie coming in December. If there is to be a future series, this is the perfect last episode for Dragon Ball Super because it ultimately leaves you excited for the future of Dragon Ball. And one more thing to add, Zeno asked Goku if he is going to come back again, and it's a weird question really, because why wouldn't he go back to visit Zeno? That doesn't make any sense. I truly believe that Zeno has literally played the role of the spectator. He has been as the audience throughout this whole tournament. and he, as the audience member, is asking Goku if he's going to come back again. Goku says, of course. I think that's an in-story hint that Dragon Ball is coming back. Anyway guys, I know I've done a lot of rambling in this video, and I appreciate the fact that you've stayed with me throughout this series and this video basically, and listened to what I've got to say. Now I really want to know what you've got to say about this episode in the comment section. I've got so many video ideas for these upcoming weeks. I'm going to be delving a lot more into the original Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and maybe even some Dragon Ball GT over the time we wait for the movies. Don't worry, this channel is not stopping. I have extensive knowledge on Dragon Ball, and I'm going to prove that. So let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comment section. I'll do my best to read them and reply. YouTube has come out and admitted recently that just by subscribing you won't necessarily get notified when I release new videos. So there is a bell button next to that subscribe button. If you press that bell button you will be notified when I release new content. So guys, if you haven't been getting notified about my newest videos, make sure you hit that bell button and you will be notified, or at least you should be notified. Guys, keep lending the Daishinken your energy. Smash that like button. I truly appreciate every single one of you. You have my utmost gratitude. I've truly enjoyed watching this series with you. It was a great ending for me. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed and smash that bell button. Until next time, Ad Astra.